This is a homage beat.
To further validate the truth of my word. You dig what I'm saying? And I hope, people are, kind of catching that.
Yeah.
You know, he's just working twofold here. Because I know you going to be down there trying to figure out if this was real or not, if what I created was real. You're going to be digging for centuries, for decades. And I'm going to show you it's real. And that's why I believe the fact still stands that this is not just the number one sold book in America, in the world, but it's the most historical, factual book in the world.
And I think it's a great point, because I think most of us who possibly have, because I think for me, I got saved later in life, but your view of scripture is just like, it's just, because number one, I didn't even really give a second thought of like, well, who wrote this? I never even gave it a thought like, oh, Moses wrote this. That didn't even connect for me. I just thought it was just stories.
And you may have heard it through the pulpit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But were you really, really paying attention? The preacher's gonna give you what, when, why, where.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
He's gonna give you them 5 W's. That doesn't mean it's to take all and be all. You gotta go further study that.
I think that was good. Like you said, preaching should be the spark. And I think a lot of my studying has come from preaching hey, I want to go back and examine for myself. And I think that's a really good point. And hopefully those who are listening to us go back and study and view these things, because like I said, I didn't take the scripture to be historical. I just thought it was like, okay, these are really cool truths, little principles, little proverbs. I'm not thinking, oh, God has given an account of history on how he has worked in history. Man. I never made that connection. And it's like, if I take this to truth, okay, I can give an explanation on why they're fossils. Because again, how did fossilization happen? It's got to happen as something cataclysmic must have happened. And it's like, oh, scripture talks about a flood account. And then you even go to like the Grand Canyon and you just see the layers on things like that. And it's like, how could this have happened? And it's something traumatic, something cataclysmic must have happened to this earth. And we even get further into it and just talking about just the geography of the earth and how it's shifted and changed. And it's like, scripture gives an account for these things, and it's just crazy to think about.
But see, that's the point what I said in the beginning. It brings life to you.
The text literally comes alive. That's not just like, oh, really cool stories. No, God is talking about how he's worked throughout history.
That's crazy.
That's how it's worked out history.
Crazy.
I say many point to the fossil record as like the holy grail of the evolutionary theory. Undoubtedly, the fossil record details an extraordinary historical facts. However, the fossil record tells an incomplete story. Given the entire span of Earth's supposed existence, man has only found. And again, I'll just bring it out there. I wrote this book in 2015. The numbers may have changed, so I'll just throw that out there. But at the time of my study, they only found 2,100 good skeletons of any dinosaur. I say, not only this, there is no complete fossils of any dinosaurs. I say, now this is not a huge deal, but it does raise some questions. How can one be so dogmatic with such little evidence? An entire geological timeline is created based on such scarce proof. And I say one openly admits that most of what we think and know about dinosaurs is a result of educated guesses based on comparing the dinosaur skeletons with modern animals. And it's like, they won't tell you that though. It's just kind of fabrication. It's like, not to say that these animals didn't exist, but we create a whole narrative on how they came into being. Where it's like, you don't know that.
But see, that's the problem with, and let me be prophetic here for a second. What evolutionists are is the display of what we see Kanye West doing.
Okay.
Right? We have Kanye West who is making statements because he has no information. Like, I'm not even making this up. No information. He just started watching CNN.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right? So he has no information of historical context. And when that happens, you just blurt out whatever you want to blurt out. right? And that gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
The same with the evolutionists. If you can't look back and see a trace of what you have been thinking, then it's not right.
Yeah.
And you can't make it gospel.
And that's what they do.
And that's exactly what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that gets us in trouble. So I'll put a point down to further explain
Go
this.
ahead.
Like, let's take, in my line of work, we deal primarily with insurances. And the three things an insurance carrier looks at is your age, your gender, and your lifestyle. In order for you to qualify to transfer your risk of morbidity or mortality to them. And we'll underwrite you on that. What we have to do is not take what you tell me as face value. So if you tell us, hey, I'm perfect, my body good, physical exams good, I'm straight, no medications, etc., we good. Yeah. If I take that as face value, then everybody qualifies. Everybody qualifies. Right?
Exactly.
You could be 5'6", 300 pounds and qualify, right? But they don't. And that's why we have the principle of underwriting, because now underwriting will go back and dig into your medical history.
Yep.
And they have made a push for Congress to say, we want to go even DNA testing. Congress like, no, it's not going to happen. Okay, because the insurance carriers wanted to go that far.
Yeah, to see what you're
susceptible to see what you're. I mean, they wanted to go back and look at DNA, right, to cover risk.
Yeah. Congress
is like, no, they blocked that. But they go back and look at the written history, and the written history tells you if you are lying or telling the truth. And so we see, hey, you got a lot of doctor appointments. You're on this medication. Tell us, and they won't just say you lied. They'll say, well, tell us about this, right? Tell us about this problem. Tell us about that. And then you start thinking, oh my God, I forgot all about that. That's what the clients will tell you now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot I went to the hospital the first beginning of the year. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The same with the evolutionists have to incorporate in their thinking. It's power when you can take a certain thought and have it examined with others and with his history as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you make a good point, and I'll get to that. I say, in addition to the fossil record is used to prove that the Earth is millions of years old, I say actually most believe the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Like, again, like you were saying, how do you come to this conclusion? I say from the fossils and rock layers, one determines the age of the Earth, and I won't go into all because I start talking about, the law of superposition. I won't get into all of that and everything like that, but the whole point is that I think there's something called like carbon dating or something to that effect, where they take a piece of whatever the case is, they test it and they say, oh, it's millions and millions of years old. But the thing that they fail to realize is, how do we know that the Earth's everything was the same back then as it is now? They're taking that everything has been a constant. But as we just said, there was a global flood that would have disrupted all of that. Correct. That could have said, hey, things that were happening in the past may not happen in the same rate that they're happening now. Correct. So you doing all this testing, you could be wrong. But again, I say, however, most people believe the idea of a global flood to be nonsense. Again, we just read that story and we just kind of write it off like, yeah, right, that really didn't happen. But we take it, no, that actually did happen. And we kind of see evidence of it. The fossil record proves something cataclysmic happened. Correct. I say, ironically, people exclusively use science to determine the age of the Earth. Science is helpful in determining historical accuracy, but it is never an exclusive way in which history is determined. Correct. Again, going back, if I'm asking you about your history, your childhood, you don't start pulling up the scientific observations and this, that, and the third. You say, this happened in my life, or you can go to somebody else who can tell you, hey, this is what happened. Eyewitness account or written record is the primary way you determine history. Right. That goes completely out the window when it comes to dating the age of the Earth. Right. And we don't question that. Right. Using science to determine history. Yeah. We don't do that anywhere else. Correct. Determine history. Right. But I continue.
It blows your mind, man. It blows your mind.
I say people believe prehistoric life roamed the earth for millions of years before man entered the scene. Once man entered the scene, millions of years passed, and only in the last 300 years, man has come to the conclusion of an old earth. Essentially, this is an extremely old, assuming this idea of an extremely old earth is a recent phenomenon. Evolution is taught us as if all of human history subscribed to it, when in reality, evolution is a fairly new worldview. Over time, man has made several discoveries, such as fossils, but these discoveries should not cause one to discard a recorded history. Prior to the 1700s, and what I'm getting at is Charles Darwin, if you know anything about evolution, in the 1700s, Charles Darwin came up with this idea of evolution, and then made it, again, gospel.
Right.
That this is the origin of life, and this is how things came to be.
Right.
And it's like, why do we discount eyewitness account written record? Because, and even I asked the question, and we can just talk about it. I said, because I find it ironic. I was saying, like, the way I try to argue is I like try to concede the person's point. Okay, let's say, for instance, I believe evolution is true. If evolution is true, why haven't we seen any record of it prior to Charles Darwin?
Right.
There's no record of it.
Or why hasn't it evolved from when it started?
You know, there's no record. There's nothing that hints, because it's like, if this was to happen, nobody said, yo, we started evolving from an ape-like creature. Nobody records this.
Right.
There's no record of it.
Right.
But it's like when you go all the way through antiquity, people have always subscribed to a creator.
Correct.
Now, it wouldn't have been the right creator, but we've subscribed to some sort of deity.
It was beyond.
It was beyond them.
Right.
It was beyond them, and we look at it and we're like, oh, they were archaic. And it's like, no, bro. If this is true, why wouldn't we see some evidence prior to Charles? We would see something over time, something written down, some kind of eyewitness account of this happening.
Yeah.
But there's none of that.
Yeah.
But you see the exact opposite. People believing in a creator, in some sort of deity.
And it's because I think that I guess the problem is just this. We want to be first. We just want to be first. We do. We want to be first, and we want to be special. And that comes at any cost. I'll rewrite history to be first. Right? Argument that, I think we'll get into it maybe a little later, but why is it so important to trust the Bible? It's like, you gonna trust man? You think man gonna write something like this? You dig what I'm saying? So it's like, we just want to be first, man. It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You want to do something so special. You want to go out there in the world and make a mark, right? But that mark cannot come at the expense of rewriting history, or at the expense of not taking into account or doing a full analysis of what has been before you.
Yeah.
You cannot just start now. I can't do that, So I think that's a big problem.
No, I think that's cool, because even I think this idea of being first, man being supreme, where man's foundation for worldview is just himself.
Correct.
That's the beginning of what civilization, just him. That everything revolves around man, and it's like you can tell the difference between which is real and which is fraudulent, because it's a man-centered theology or worldview as opposed to a biblical worldview. It's a God-centered worldview that He is at the center, not man. And like I said, that's what happens, because we're looking to, and again, we'll get into it later down the line, where it's like we're looking to nature, that which is created, to give us an explanation to how our origin began. And it's just really crazy when you think about it. But I say most because of the fossil record, oral and recorded history